Hey, what's going on everyone? MONADO Max here, and today we're doing a video on Nintendo Switch collecting because the whole Nintendo Switch collecting scene is kind of going crazy right now in pure speculation, especially just really the Nintendo community itself is going in pure speculation mode because of what's happening with the Nintendo Switch games. Now, if you haven't heard the news, there's this list that's been going around that has now been pretty much proven to be real. Looking at Walmart's kind of helped us out with proving that this is real. And if you look at other carriers out there in the retail scene, a lot of what this list is showing is coming to be for true, which is a lot of out-of-print Nintendo Switch games. And when I say a lot of out-of-print first-party Nintendo games. Some on this list that's really shocking. And a lot of people are going crazy trying to figure out what does this mean. Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Selects, are these games just out of print? What does this mean? Now, it seems like a lot of the community is really focused on it being Nintendo Selects, and spoiler alert, no, it's not Nintendo Selects, and I'm going to tell you why it's not Nintendo Selects. I'm going to tell you what's going on here and what I think is happening. Starting off, let's go over what games are going out of print. We have Paper Mario the Origami King, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, Pikmin 3 Deluxe, Metroid Dread, Kirby Star Allies, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Fire Emblem Three Houses, Fire Emblem Engage, Yoshi's Crafted World, WarioWare Get It Together, Nintendo Switch Sports, Super Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, Mario Maker 2, and Mario Strikers Battle League. These are all games that will no longer be printed. Now, this might be like, oh, are these games that we should buy now? Are they going to be rare? Are we going to see them in the top 10 MONADO Max series rare Switch games? Which you guys can watch right here. Look at these awesome thumbnails right here. Oh my gosh. Not exactly. I think these are games you definitely should be on the lookout for. But there's a lot to look into when it comes surrounding this list. And a lot that I think kind of helps us look at in terms of the next Nintendo console. Let's speculate what's happening. I want to first talk about how Nintendo Switch cartridges work. Now, a lot of people don't realize what makes Nintendo Switch collecting so interesting is because the fact that the Nintendo Switch uses a cartridge-based system, a lot of the whole game is on the cartridge, or at least a lot more than most things out there. Because discs nowadays really don't hold much, it's more just like a download disc at that point. And because of Nintendo using cartridges, that makes it way more expensive. And with how Nintendo Switch games are, I'm saying that there's a big difference in terms of price. We have seen third-party games not do a physical release at all because of how expensive the cartridges are with these things. And when a game sells out for the Nintendo Switch, we rarely see a restock for it, especially with the third-party games. That's why you see some random, unexpected Switch games out there that really should not be as expensive as what it is. And particularly with the first-party Nintendo games, Nintendo themselves sometimes doesn't restock the stuff too. And I think now they're getting to the point where they just don't want to restart certain games. They just want to be done with them. Because some of these games, like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, they were originally done reprinting those. They were done printing that completely, and then Pyra and Mythra got in Smash Bros, so they printed out more copies because the interest of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was very high at that moment. So keep in mind, reprinting stuff is very expensive right now. I want to bring that point up with Nintendo Selects because a lot of people seem to think that we're getting a Nintendo Selects out there. And I mean, I think that's a good point. I think there's some stock into that theory. However, there's a few things we need to consider. If a Nintendo Selects was happening with some of these games on here, some of these games don't make sense to have as a Nintendo Selects, like Fire Emblem Engage. That just came out not even a year ago. I mean, it's about to be a year ago, like very close to being a year ago. But that's not going to be a $20 game from Nintendo anytime soon. And they're not going to go out of their way to reprint these games again because of how expensive the cartridges are. Not to mention, if you look at the history of Nintendo Selects, they don't release that many games at once. It comes in waves. I'm pretty sure, if I recall, the Wii and Wii U, they always did it in waves, and it was always 6 games, I'm pretty sure. I don't even know how many Nintendo Selects games we got out there for the Wii, 3DS, and all that, the Wii U, but I'm pretty sure, I know for a fact, we didn't get this many games at the launch. And people seem to think that could be what's happening here. I don't think that's the case here at all, because if that was the case, I would expect to see something like Breath of the Wild on this list, considering Mario Odyssey is on the list. There's a lot of games on here that don't make sense to be on a Nintendo Selects list, because a lot of the stuff still sells like crazy, like New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. And I think there's a reason why certain games are on this list. Now this part, I am truly theorizing, but I think some of these games, Nintendo doesn't want you to buy when the next Nintendo console comes out, because the next Nintendo console is going to be backwards compatible. And I don't think they want you to buy Mario Odyssey, because the next 3D Mario game is probably going to launch with the next Nintendo console. And with the Nintendo Switch 2, we're just going to call it that for right now, with it being rumored to have backwards compatibility in there, I don't think Nintendo wants you to be able to buy Mario Odyssey instead of something like, we're just going to say Mario Odyssey 2. Because obviously Mario Odyssey is going to be a way cheaper game out there compared to Nintendo's what will probably be $70 games on the next Nintendo console. And that could be for this list that we have right here. These games that we're seeing on this list, there's a strong possibility that some of these games could be coming to the next Nintendo console in terms of a new game within the series within the first year or two of the next Nintendo console. I think what's really going around right now is Nintendo is getting rid of games to have people have space to put games up for the next Nintendo console. If you go to retail stores right now, and this is something that I have been noticing over the few months, and it's getting worse, if you go into a place like Best Buy, GameStop, or Walmart, if you look at their Nintendo cabinet, the Switch inventory for new games, at least like the big AAA games out there, the first party Nintendo stuff, there's not much there. If you've been watching this channel on the shorts, we've gone to Best Buy, Walmart, and GameStop, all different locations, and they're all having the same similar issue. They're running out of stuff there. Now, if you're lucky, you can still find some of these games that are on this list, and my recommendation to buy these games is to go to a local Walmart, because if Walmart has these games are supposed to be on clearance, because a lot of what's on this list that we talked about today, my Walmart does have and has automatically put on clearance already. So you get like the brand new Metroid Dread, $40, really good deal. That also doesn't make sense that Nintendo is going out of print with that game. Now, like I said, I was theorizing on it potentially being related to the Nintendo Switch 2 in terms of new certain entries coming to games in the series. Because, you know, that's just me speculating. Because I really would have felt like Zelda would have been on this list if we're getting rid of Mario Odyssey, at least Breath of the Wild. But we don't see Breath of the Wild mentioned on here, because obviously the next Nintendo console is not going to have another mainline Zelda game like that for another 5 years. So they want people to be able to buy Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild still. I don't think Nintendo wants you to be able to buy Mario Odyssey for $30, because that's how much the game was going for on Black Friday. And instead of buying that instead of the next Mario Odyssey 2, $70. It just doesn't make sense if you look at Nintendo's history. So should you buy these Switch games? Well, I think a lot of what we talked about on this list has a good chance of being games that will end up being valuable, or at least hold that $60 value within the next Nintendo console life. I think these are some games you should look out for, and especially if these are games that you want going into the next Nintendo console, you should look into buying these games. Because one thing is for sure, they are definitely going out of print. That is what I believe is happening. Now, I want to know, what is your theory on what's going on? I don't think Nintendo Selects makes sense, especially with the next Nintendo console rumored to drop this year. It doesn't make sense for Nintendo to go out of their way to produce more cartridges, because with cartridges, when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, Limited Run has actually confirmed this. If you look at the owner's Twitter account, they have talked about, and this is why Limited Run is actually an open pre-order system now, rather than like the limited 5,000 copies. Let's say that, let's use whatever this game is right here, Assassin's Creed. Let's say Ubisoft wants to make 11,000 copies. You have to round it off to 15,000 copies. Or if you got like 1,700, you gotta round it off to 2,000 copies. You can't have a weird number. It's gotta be an exact number, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. And it has to be high numbers that you're producing for them to do a reprint, or just for a reprint you have to ask for high numbers to make a case and cartridge and all that. It just doesn't make sense with the history of how expensive this is, with limited runs, what they've talked about of how expensive Switch games work and how other companies work with getting reprints and all that. Does not make sense at all for Nintendo Selects to be a thing that's happening. I think ultimately this is just stores preparing to make space for the next Nintendo console, to have games available when that next Nintendo console drops, just to have room, because all stores is having the same issue where there's not much there at the Nintendo aisle. Want to know what you guys are thinking? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you guys have Twitter, tweet me an image of what your local game store looks like in terms of like mainline game stores like GameStop, Best Buy, Walmart, that type of stuff, because I want to see if what I'm saying is true, because with what I have seen at all the stores near me and outside of me, stuff is not coming back. There is no Nintendo Switch games, it feels like. I want to know what you guys are thinking. Let me know your whole thing and what you think's going on. I think it's interesting, and if you've been collecting for the Nintendo Switch already, I'm sure everyone's excited for this and has been waiting for this, because Nintendo Switch collecting is about to get really interesting within the next few months. And yes, part 3 is coming soon, before everyone comments that. Make sure to backslash that subscribe button, like the video, check out my Twitch. Well, we don't do anything on Twitch, but still, check it out. Check out my Twitter, check out my Discord server, check out my Instagram, and everything else that's in the description below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace. That was a pretty good video, I felt like.